There are 7 levels of confidence. 7. And one of the biggest problems is people do not know where they fall in this chart. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I've spent over 3 decades studying the psychology of humans and human behavior. I have a PhD in natural health. I studied multiple times at the Benson Henry Institute for Mind Body Medicine at Harvard. I've delivered over 350 talks worldwide, including 2 TEDx talks. And I've worked with companies such as Merck, the United States Postal Service, Raytheon, and have even created a stress reduction program for the US military. And I'm going to share what I have learned in all of my years, how you can up your confidence and how your level of confidence affects how you appear and function in the world. So this video is going to walk you through every single level to help you identify where you are, where you're getting stuck, and how we can help you move to the next productive level. So here we go. Level 1, the freeze. There is no shame in being here. A lot of us are in it or have passed through this level of confidence. This is the person who can't think on their feet, who rehearses a conversation for hours, and then when the time comes, they still sit there silent. This is the person who is probably not asking for the promotion, who is probably getting looked over for the raises, the extra positions, all these sorts of things, because they do not exude any level of confidence. People cannot trust that they're going to be able to handle these things because they do not project that outwardly. And again, there's nothing wrong with being in this place, except for the fact that you're probably not getting what you want. And it's a very uncomfortable place to be, right? It's almost as if you're in a constant fight or flight or freeze response for things that most people can walk through without experiencing those feelings. They often avoid opportunities because it is so scary to do that. And then there's physical symptoms of jaw tension, shoulder tension, clenching, stomach upset, things that what you would consider a very nervous person or a very almost sort of watery person, right, would exude. These definite physical symptoms of stress. They often also avoid eye contact. They are just not feeling good about who they are. They feel that maybe they're an imposter. They feel like people are not going to take them seriously or believe what they're saying. This probably I'm going to say definitely is coming from childhood. So often if we hear as a kid that we're not good enough, that we can't do that thing, why even try? You're going to fail anyway. Then we can easily slip into this first level, which is freezing. You just don't even want to try because you feel like it's not going to work. This is huge in the fight or flight response, right? And the fight or flight response was made for an actual physical threat, right? The bear's chasing you, cars hurtling towards you, the ground gives way underneath you and you're not sure if you're going to fall. This fight or flight response or freeze is a very innate, very deep level reaction in our limbic system, that ancient part of our brain, that lizard brain. It is not great if that is happening all the time because that's not what it's made for. It's made for the short-lived dynamic stressor. And for someone in this freeze position, they view everything as a threat. They're very nervous people often, or they're just sort of shut down and you feel like you can't get to know them. This is the beginning of the confidence level. This is where many people start, especially if you were uncomfortable as a kid, or again, if you were raised to believe that you couldn't do the thing, that why even try? You're not going to be very good at it. This is influenced by people around us. If you showed up to Little League and you were always the one on the bench and no one ever gave you a chance, there's no way to build confidence if you don't try something. There's no way to build confidence if people are not giving you opportunities to build the confidence, inside yourself. So this is the most basic level, that freeze. Let's move on and see where we can go. So in this freeze state, one of the big things that keeps people stuck is they feel like they have to get rid of the fear before they can move forward. And that's completely untrue. You can still move forward with the fear. And one of the best ways to do that is one little step at a time. I do flying trapeze. And the first day of class, they don't say, all right, take off your belt, go do a double tuck. No, you are belted in. Someone's holding your lines. You climb the ladder, you swing out, you drop into the net. That's the first thing you do. They do not have you doing these crazy hard tricks. And I've been in classes with little kids who are so afraid to climb that ladder, even though you're hooked in, right? This idea of climbing this very rickety, is always rickety, ladder to get to the top. And sometimes kids get to the 3rd or 4th rung, and that's as far as they go that day. And they think they're a failure. They think they didn't do it. They don't want to come back. They don't want to try it again. And I make it a point to praise that kid for getting up to that rung, because the first time they tried, you know how many rungs they got? None. So for them, that's a win. Start with the small steps. Look to people around you for whom change is easy, that change has happened. Make sure you rely on the positive and supportive people around you to help be your cheerleader so you can start to move forward. because confidence is not necessarily born. It is something that comes through us as we learn to function as a human on this planet. So surround yourself with supportive people. Take one little achievement at a time. Praise yourself for those things that you've done, and don't wait for the fear to go away. It's probably always going to be there in some form or another. Level 2, the mask. So on the exterior, this person looks like they got it together. They, shoulders back, head held high, good communicators, but really underneath they are absolutely crumbling. This is the step above the freeze, right? So you're able to face those fears. They're still in there. And you found a way to mask yourself so that you can function as a confident person. But here's the downside of that. This is where imposter syndrome really comes in, because you feel completely insecure inside. You just found a way to project to others that you know what you're doing. So sometimes that confidence is overtaken with humor, with charm, with aggression, with stories of the success, because they're doing anything they can to mask the fact that they're terrified inside. Right. So it's not that you're not trying anything. Now you're trying all the things, but you're doing it with this sort of fakeness on. And sometimes it's easy to see through that. Right. And that's a downside, because the person who's masking doesn't want you to see through that. The biggest fear is that you're going to find out they were a fraud. You're going to find out that they're terrified underneath all this. Masking is something that so many of us do. And it's frustrating because there's this little voice inside of ourselves that says, if they really knew me, they would know that I'm a complete fraud. And that's a terrifying place to live, because eventually you can only keep that mask on for so long before it starts to fracture, before people start to see the insecurity underneath, or you start messing something up. And as soon as you start messing things up, this specific personality type figures, oh, well, great. Well, now everybody knows. And they stop trying, and they often revert back to the first level, which is the freeze, right? As soon as someone starts to see through this mask, you go back into that, oh, I'm just going to not try again thing. It is a survival tool, but it is not sustainable. It is impossible to keep this mask on for your entire life. It is going to start to crumble. It's going to start to crack. Things are going to start to be shown that let people know that you do not have as much confidence as you once portrayed. Getting comfortable with the idea of imperfection is part of this process. None of us are perfect. Not one person watched this, stood up and walked the first time they tried. No one got on a bicycle and didn't wobble and fall. This is truly one of the things I love about yoga is I have so many instructors. We're doing the balance poses, which I used to be so good at, and now I'm not so good anymore. And they always say, wobbling is okay. Falling is even better. We encourage people to have that vulnerability, to be able to let yourself wobble and fall. Here's the thing that's required for that is psychological safety. So if you're not in a place where you're surrounded by supportive people, the mask will get you through, but you're never going to move past that because you can't trust that the people around you are okay seeing what's underneath that mask. Do your best to surround yourself with loving and supportive people, even if you have one anchor person that can be there for you. When I'm doing talks, and I don't get nervous or afraid before I do talks, but one of the things I make sure I do is I connect with someone in the close front of the audience really soon into my talk. Because if I start to feel my energy wane, I can look to that person and I tend to get that really positive feedback from them. So that way that ups my energy again, which ups the energy of the entire audience. So have someone in your corner, have someone that is there for you that you can let that mask down and say, man, I'm terrified under here. And you're going to start to move into the next level. Level 3, the specialist. In this case, the confidence is absolutely real, but it's focused into one narrow thing. You do that one thing really well. And that's great when you're doing that one thing. Perhaps you're an incredible neurosurgeon, but you get around your friends and you absolutely crumble. Or you can talk ad nauseum about that piece of work that you're doing at your office, but as soon as someone asks you, how are you really doing? You absolutely fall apart. You get to a point where you start to identify with that thing that you do. It is not a separate part of you. It is 100% your identity, which is great, except when that thing ends, when you're not doing that thing, then you have no idea who you are. So this is very incomplete confidence. You're great at the one specialization that you have, but anything outside of that starts to crumble. Here's the cool thing about this, though. If you have built the confidence in this one area, you can build the confidence in any area. Use this as a blueprint of how you can use this very narrow confidence and attitude into blossoming and ballooning that out into every other aspect of your life. It's just going to take some work. But the fact that you did it means you can do it again. You can recreate that process and become a better communicator with your peers, your family, your spouse. I have clients who are so good at work. They can negotiate anything. Wasn't there a movie with Kevin Spacey called The Negotiator or something? And the guy was like so good at his job, but couldn't get his teenage daughter out of the bathroom. It's one of those things, right? Where you can manage one specific thing maybe at work, but you can't manage something else. You're great at computer programming, but you cannot have a conversation with your peers or your the people around you. That social anxiety that so many people get if they're not talking about that one thing that they know. You did not become good at this skill overnight. You did not become eloquent and confident in this one ability fast. So in that way, give yourself a break. Be patient with yourself. Identify other areas that you can start to branch out in with that confidence and introduce them slowly. Do them incrementally. Don't try to do everything at one time. What is the thing? How do you eat an elephant? One spoonful at a time, right? You want to take it slow. You want to find small ways that you can start to introduce other aspects of your life that you can use that same blueprint for confidence. This same process works for social confidence, for emotional resilience and intelligence, for workplace communication and leadership. It is a process, and the same skills that you use to become confident in your one area can start to roll out and create confidence and leadership in every other area of your life. Confidence is not a single trait. It's a bunch of traits rolled into one, and that's how it exhibits to other people. When you're ready to be a beginner again, you can bring that confidence into other aspects of your life. Level 4, the quiet force. This is where things shift dramatically. This is the person that walks in the room without saying a word and they exude confidence. You see them from across the room, and without them saying a word, you know exactly who they are and that they are good and confident and competent at what they do. They don't need to prove themselves. They don't need to try to get your attention. They are not looking for validation. They are just present. And that presence radiates off of them like sunlight. These are the people that have done the work. These are the people who are emotionally intelligent, who do the presence work, the affirmations, the visualization, the breath work, the mindfulness, the meditation. These are the people that just from being around them, you somehow feel more elevated. I've done a couple talks where people have come up to me afterwards and they say, Kathy, just being in your presence, I feel better. That is not only my quiet confidence, it's also the work that I've done. It's the presence that I just carry with me in these scenarios. Now, here's the one downside of being at this level, this quiet force. If you're in a busy, hectic environment, if you're in a high energy, kind of bombastic situation, and you're just sitting there quietly, sometimes you'll be overlooked. So one of the challenges of this level is to know when to say something and when to just kind of sit back and let things unfold, when to chime in and give your opinion, when to let everything else happen around you, knowing that you may be overlooked, that because of all the sort of almost crazy making over here, you sitting there just exuding is gonna get yourself overlooked. So observe the situation. These people are brilliant observers. Observe the situation and just sort of take note of where you might need to come in, where you're going to need to express your expertise. This person is responding rather than reacting. They are staying in the present moment, and they are able to kind of move back and forth whether I'm going to speak up or whether I'm going to sit back and watch what unfolds. This is the gift of this. This is also the challenge of this. So if you find yourself in this level, know you're doing the great work. And you're going to have to observe really carefully and see when you're being overlooked and when you have to jump in. Level 5, the presence. This is everything level 4 has, but man, they know how to work it. They know how to even project it out further. They know how to use it in their daily life. This person commands a room, not through being loud or being arrogant, but through groundedness and clarity and just this genuine connection that they have with people. My uncle is this way. He would walk into a room. He was a salesman, just a natural salesman. He would walk into the room and people just liked him. He could have a conversation with anybody. He could make anyone feel heard. And I watched that as a kid, and that really excited me. I observed that because I was such an observer. I'm an only child, and I love watching people interact. And I would observe how he dealt with waitresses or people that we met on the street. And there was a gift to that. It was a beautiful way of being. And I wanted to I wanted to adopt that. I wanted to be that way when I grew up. This is the person that you could sit down and be so comfortable having a conversation with. This is the person where you turn to them and go, oh my God, I could listen. I could just talk to you all day. They're really good listeners. They're really good at reflecting back. They are truly responsive and not reactive. They have their stress managed. Now, the stress isn't going to go away because it's never going to go away, but they have found ways to manage it that you wouldn't even know that they're having any stress in their life. I have so many clients that assume I just have this perfect life because I never talk about my stresses. I don't talk about the things that are going wrong because I have found ways to manage them so that it doesn't affect my outward demeanor. Occasionally, sure, we all might look a little stressed, but this level 5, the presence, it is pretty rare that you are going to see them with ruffled feathers. These are the people that are meditating. These are the people that have some sort of practice, even if it's not formal seated meditation. Maybe it's just a stillness or a audio that they listen to or videos that they watch. These are the people that are doing the work to make sure they stay anchored and present in this moment. And it is so obvious when they walk in who they are. They just glow and exude. They are relaxed. This is the field goal kicker with those 3 seconds left, who is so present. They try to ice him. Nope. He just boom, right through the uprights. And there are so many NFL teams now who have someone on their staff that is not only personal training them, doing the physical work, but also doing the emotional, spiritual, behavioral, almost, I don't want to say psychic work because that's not right, but like helping them manage these affirmations and the visualization, who is helping them condition their mind just as much as they are conditioning their bodies. These are the people that have their shit together, that other people look to and go, I wish I was like that. This is something that we are shooting for. And if you're not there yet, even if you're not down at level 1, but even if you're at level 1, know that you can get here. It's going to take work and it's going to take bravery, but know that you can get here because that person that has that presence in the past has had moments where they felt insecure. They were at level 1 at some point, whether it was a week or a lifetime, they did the work to get to level 5, and you can do that too. This is what the other work that I do can get you to. Being present, working on that emotional intelligence, working on that non-reactivity. If you hone those skills, you can land here in level 5, the presence. Level 6, the overreach. Okay, so this is where we started to tip the other direction. People who are at level 6 are not truly confident. They are horribly insecure. These are the narcissists. These are the ones that have to always be right, that can't admit that they're wrong, that view everybody else as to blame because they could possibly not do anything wrong, right? These are the people that kind of drive us crazy. They tend to move more towards the arrogance, towards the overcompensating for things that they're uncomfortable with. They tend to diminish other people. And if you're back in level 5, the presence, you're not diminishing anybody else. You have the ability to admit you did something wrong, and you will take responsibility if something went awry that you were responsible for, right? You have the ability to say, I am so sorry, I screwed that up. Whereas someone in the overreach level 6, they're never going to say that. They will not admit they're wrong. It was somebody else's fault. It was somebody else to blame. This person often gets isolated because they're behaving in such a way that is really a turnoff to other people. So they can be isolated. They don't want to do the work because why would they? You do not have to be perfect in this world. There is no perfection. So someone who is stuck in the overreach tries to express to everyone how perfect they are, how untouchable they are. There's a lot of greed involved in this. There's a lot of stepping over other people. There's a lot of pushing people down to lift them up. And that's not the way this works. If you have to make other people wrong in order to feel your rightness, then that's not the way it should be. There are other ways to go about getting that presence and getting that confidence without making everybody else small, right? It's about lifting other people up. And there's this beautiful cartoon that I've seen. It's people trying to get up like a wall or a cliff, and everybody's like lifting each other up, and they're moving as a unit to get to the top. And that's the way we need to make this work. This is going to start to shift everything in our society if we realize that we're at this overreach and we want to start doing it a different way. So deep down inside, these people are terrified of being ordinary. They are terrified of being normal and not being treated special. And I have met some really strong people, celebrities, sports figures, political personas, who are the first to say, hey, I screwed something up, or I did something wrong. Strong does not mean that you don't make mistakes. it means that you can admit it when you do. And if you're in level 5, the presence, you can admit that. If you're up in level 6, this overreaching, overconfident, kind of arrogant, conceited kind of space, that is not the spot that we want to be in. Often they don't even know they're there. This was born out of this horrible insecurity and people, like finding out who they really are. This is imposter syndrome, but exhibiting a different way. This is not the I'm going to not do anything for fear they're going to find out. This is I'm going to do everything so they don't notice. A little bit different, but we're starting to get to the same level of that. So this is where everything starts to tip. We start to go the opposite way where confidence is going to get in our way. Level 7. This is the top rung of the ladder. This is the delusion. This is not just confidence. This is a feeling that you're untouchable. These are the celebrities that flaunt an affair thinking they're never going to find out. These are the sports figures that drive too fast and they get into a car accident and think they're not going to be prosecuted for this thing. These are the politicians in our world right now who are breaking laws, who are destroying our Constitution, who are doing things with women or men or destroying lives of the people around them, feeling like there's going to be no consequence to this. This often leads to a huge crash and burn. We have seen a lot of celebrities, a lot of people who are very noteworthy, who completely lose their careers, who completely lose their fans, they lose their money, they lose everything because they have this arrogance that nothing can touch them. And though we want to be confident, we do not want to be behaving like this. This is narcissism to the nth degree. This is almost pathological, where they are just so sure they can't be touched that they behave in horrible ways. The rules do not apply to them. Consequences are for other people, and they just flaunt their arrogance. They flaunt this overconfidence. In fact, this is no longer confidence. It's just full-blown delusion. They feel like they cannot fail. They take really dangerous risks because, there's no consequences for them, right? Everyone else can F off. I'm going to do whatever I want with no thought of other people. When they do fall, it's really, really catastrophic because they never built the humanity underneath. They never built the connection to other people. They never honed relationships that are actually truly built on trust and honesty and vulnerability. They surrounded themselves often with yes men or people who are just as criminal and delusional as they are. It becomes an entire group of people that think they are untouchable. And when that crash comes, because there's no human underneath that, it can be devastating for them. This is the cautionary tale of this entire video. I want you to work up to being the presence. I don't want you to work past that into this. I think there's a very small subset of the population that could even get here because for most of us, we have a moral compass that keeps us from abusing and stepping on other people. Confidence is power, but unchecked, it becomes a diagnosis. I mean, these people really need help in so many different ways, right? The highest form of confidence is knowing your limits and taking all of those limits and your humanity into account as you're moving through this world. Real strength includes vulnerability, and real wisdom includes doubt. So for these people that think they are God, that's not what we want to strive for. What we want to strive for is remembering our vulnerability and our humanity and treating others as if we are all one. This is the non-duality that we talk about in Buddhism, that we are all one and that we should lift each other up. And when you've hit this level of 7, even in 6, you don't look at other people as human. They're just stepping stones to get you to what you want. You don't feel the humanity enough that you're going to care for another person, for their feelings, for their livelihood, for their well-being. It doesn't even matter to you anymore. And so let's be honest, if you found yourself at this level and you've watched this far, go talk to someone and see if you can't get help to bump yourself down a couple steps. It's going to take practice. It's going to take really letting go of some of the things that you hold dear, like power and control over maybe your company, maybe your spouse, maybe the people in your life. If you feel like you have the right to control everything around you, then it's going to be a hard fall. So be honest with yourself. What level are you at right now? Not the one you want to be at someday, but really where you are. Because if you're not honest with where you are, then you can't move and grow and get to the level that you truly want to be at. Now, knowing your level is one thing, but actually knowing the tools and the steps to move to the next level is something else. So if you want to find out what I have taught over the years to 911 dispatchers, first responders, attorneys, doctors, huge corporations about confidence, how to overcome your stress, be better leaders and communicators, go ahead and click that video right there and we can move on to that. And if you want to come talk to your organization, group, or retreat about stress, communication, confidence, mindset, go ahead and click the link in the description below. It'll take you right to my website where we can book a call and talk about how I can be of service to you and your organization. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you find yourself at an incredible level of confidence as present and presence, and we'll see you in the next video.